The Shark Deck.
A lot to get to. New specials from Jim Gaffigan on Amazon today. Mark Normand on Netflix today. Jim Gaffigan is the guest on Marc Maron's podcast. It is fantastic. I'll be picking away at parts of that. Not today. There's a lot to cover today, but over the next few days. So check out Jim Gaffigan on Maron. And hi, I'm Johnny Mac with your daily common news. But let's start with the biggest name in comedy, Dave Chappelle. Cincinnati.com writes, everything was going as planned at the Cincinnati Music Festival Saturday night until Dave Chappelle showed up. Whoa, what's going on here? Cincinnati.com. They write, Norman Brown wooed the crowd with his spirit catcher guitar solos. Avery Sunshine lifted everyone's spirits with heartwarming anthems and banter with a guitarist and husband Dana Johnson. P-Funk Connection gave up the funk and tore the roof off the sucker. That all sounds great. Babyface had the whole crowd singing along and falling back in love with him. Then Dave Chappelle got on stage. Wonder what happened. Now, I know how the story ends. I don't know why Cincinnati.com is making it sound like this was some sort of disaster. It wasn't. They write, the first time Chappelle hopped on stage, it was to introduce the headliner, Snoop Dogg. Dave Chappelle said, I pulled up tonight just to let everyone know in the area. Thank you for letting me live a normal life. Thank you for letting my family be safe. With the East Coast, West Coast feuding, he was always Switzerland. He was always Team Hip Hop. Please make some noise for the legend, Snoop Dogg. Cincinnati.com writes, it was after the show, after Snoop had said goodbye to Cincinnati and walked off stage, that Chappelle really took the spotlight. Dave Chappelle said to the dwindling crowd, Ohio, let's go. From this state, we could change the world. Let's see what we can do if we get a chance. I live right here. I live right down the road. After his short speech, Chappelle asked the drummer to lay a beat down, and we heard Dave Chappelle rap. Let's listen to just a piece of that.
Thinking of a master plan. Cause ain't nothing but sweat inside my head, so I dig into my pocket. All my money is spent so I get deeper. Still coming up with me. Leave my residence thinking, how can I get some dead presidents? I need money. I used to be a stick-up kid, so I...
Jim Gaffigan has that new special today. It's called Dark Pale. As I mentioned at the top, his interview on Maron is fantastic. In Dark Pale, Jim Gaffigan dives into some topical issues, then speculates on how people might respond. Minor spoiler, following his jokes about COVID and plane crashes, Gaffigan stops for a second and notes, this is usually the point where people ask, when's he going to do the food jokes? And he goes further, discussing funeral decorum, and he stops and asks the crowd, was that too dark? It's going to get worse. Todd Barry reacted to Twitter. Did you see they were going to change Twitter to X? Probably has happened by the time you're listening to this. Todd Barry tweets, Twitter employee, I don't know, follow me on X doesn't really roll off the tongue. Elon Musk, you're fired. Trevor Noah said, I've always wanted to write a book for all ages, and I'm really excited to announce Into the Uncut Grass, which will be out on October 31st. Trevor says you can pre-order a copy at trevornoahbooks.com. And Larry the Cable Guy is not dead. Another comedian dead rumor. Larry took to Twitter and said, as much as some haters would love for me to have died, which I don't know why other than being jealous of my 1980s Dolph Lundgren circa 1980s looking body, I'm still alive and currently putting icy hot on 65% of my body after trying to put on my socks. Apparently once a year someone spreads this rumor. It's fake. I'm fully mobile. The last time I laid motionless was on my honeymoon, according to my wife. Smiley face emoji. I'm not dead. I don't have sleep apnea or diabetes. I do, however, have major farts from honey roasted pistachios. I love y'all.
Do you love your Peloton?
Oh, I sure do.
Well, I know you do because you started a podcast about one. If you love your Peloton and can't get enough of it and all the news that goes along with it, you should check out our show. It's called The Clip Out. It's a great place to go for instructor news, new classes, motivational tips, corporate machination.
We don't just tell you the news, we also give you our thoughts on why things are happening. And each week we also interview a member of the Peloton community. Sometimes it's, somebody like me, just a regular person riding their bike.
Sometimes it's snooking.
You never know.
You never know.
The Clip Out is about anyone who loves their Peloton.
Every week we take you behind the scenes and inside the world of Peloton. The Clip Out is available wherever you get your podcasts or check out our website, theclipout.com.
Just for Laughs put out the big press release talking about who the new faces of comedy are for this year. During this week, I'm going to do several interviews about the new faces. They've all already been recorded, and you'll hear me talk to the hosts, and the host joked that they didn't know who was going to be on their shows. That's because we recorded those last week, but the names are now out. This is a lot of material, so I'll split this up over the next few days. Artists who were once named a Just for Laugh new face. Now pay attention here. You're going to know these names, so new faces is nothing to be ignored. Former new faces include Kevin Hart, Mike Birbiglia, Amy Schumer, Ali Wong, Tom Segura, Eliza Schlesinger, W. Kamau Bell, K. Trevor Wilson, Fortune Feimster, Pete Davidson, Rami Youssef, and many others. Today, let's focus on the new faces of comedy. Those showcases I usually attend, I mentioned, I think on Friday or Monday. My mom's been pretty sick, so I'm not going to head up there this year. Wednesday, 7 o'clock and 9:30, but normally you would find me at both those shows. And here are the new faces. I have pre-looked at this, and I think I only know one of the names, but that's what new faces is. All right, let's go through them. Fumi Abe is an LA-based Japanese-American stand-up comedian and writer who has performed on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert and has been a staff writer on James Corden's show. He currently co-hosts the personal finance comedy podcast Cash Cuties. Darius Bennett is originally from Detroit and bought a spur-of-the-moment one-way ticket to LA in the middle of the night and has never looked back. Darius can currently be seen on Netflix's Introducing and says he's been featured in numerous commercials for 5 Hour Energy and Rocket Mortgage. Troy Bond, comedian writer based in New York City. Tackling everything from capitalism and big banks to superheroes and the wizarding world, Bond is a versatile comic to watch. He co-hosts the Bonding podcast with fellow comic Tori Cole. Number 4, Zach Brazow, stand-up comedian based in New York City by way of Boston. Zach was named a comic to watch at the 2021 New York Comedy Festival. Tommy Brennan is a Midwest kid now living in LA. Also named a comic to watch at the New York Comedy Festival. You may know Tommy from his web series and podcast, Roommates in Law. Nico Carney, Brooklyn-based comedian. His stand-up covers his experience as a trans man growing up in Savannah, Georgia, and whatever else he finds silly and interesting. He has a monthly show at Club Coming Boys Club. He was recently a headliner at the 2022 New York Comedy Festival. Morgan Jay, that's the one name that I know on this list. Jay has made appearances on MTV's Wild 'N Out, NBC, and Comedy Central. First-generation American, he takes his musical influences from his Brazilian and Italian background and 90s upbringing. Dan Lamort is a, quote, unique stand-up comedian, unquote, and that's not just because he's on the spectrum. His career started young at 19 years old after suffering a career-ending injury as a college baseball player. Over the course of 3 years, he'd go on to lose over 185 pounds, become an ultra runner, and inspire many of his fans to pursue their own weight loss journeys. Lisa Lau is a writer, performer, and stand-up comedian using the stage to reflect on her experience as a single Chinese-American female living in Los Angeles. She placed first in Bert's Back Room's LA Top Comic Competition and was a finalist in the Crazy Woke Asians Comedy Festival. Sam Morrison is a Brooklyn-based comedian and writer. He just made his late-night debut on Seth. His solo show, Sugar Daddy, played off-Broadway for 14 weeks. Next up is Chike Robinson. So time out here. I just went to find out how to pronounce Chike's first name, and I found a clip on YouTube of a dude doing an interview show, No Harm, No Foul, but the guy's pretending to be in front of a crowd and has fake applause, but I think we're supposed to believe it's real. Anyway, found that amusing. Chike Robinson, comedian, writer, actor, and 3D animator based in LA, hailing from Flint, Michigan, recently named a comic to watch at the 2022 New York Comedy Festival. He's one-third of the sketch comedy trio Zang. Kelly Ryan started stand-up at the age of 17 while getting her BS in communication studies from Texas Christian University. She performed improv for 4 years and taught the art form for 3. At TCU, she got to open for SNL's Vanessa Bayer and Aidy Bryant. This year, she can be seen headlining and featuring for acts like Anthony Jeselnik, Burt Kreischer, Whitney Cummings, and more. She hosts a podcast called Night Coop. Brittany Schmidt is an LA-based, Wisconsin-raised comic. She likes her comedy like she likes her cheese. Stanky. Don't be fooled by her girl-next-door looks. Her humor is insidious and unapologetic. Wow, she's been featured in clubs, opening for Theo Von, Chris Redd, and more. She just put out her debut comedy special From Hoe to Housewife back on July 19th. Anna Saragina is a writer and stand-up comedian named one of Time Out LA's 2020 Comics to Watch and Vulture's 2019 Comics to Watch. She produces the LA branch of the long-running San Francisco show The Business. Sahib Singh won the Magoobies New Comedian of the Year competition. His original videos have earned him a strong following on social media. In 2021, he worked as a writer and performer for Comedy Central. Sahanis Ravinizan is originally from Dallas and is a graduate of University of Texas, Austin. She can be seen in recurring roles on Freeform's Brownish and Apples for All Mankind. She will next be seen in a leading role in the Michael Showalter Amazon Freevee series called The Pradeeps of Pittsburgh. Next up is Derek Stroop, an Alabama native, but not your average slow-talking Southerner. With the cadence of an angry auctioneer, he locks people in with his detailed stories and over-the-top energy. He's been described as a fun mix of Louis Black and Ron White. Nice. He regularly goes on the road with Josh Blue and John Crist. Audrey Stewart, comedian/actress based in L.A., a regular at the Hollywood Improv. Audrey's been on the NBC series Bring the Funny, The Drew Barrymore Show, and the Facebook Watch series Fuzzballs. Saul Trujillo is a stand-up comedian with blue-collar roots in Stockton, California. His man-child sensibilities have been featured on Comedy Central. His obscure observations on his own life will keep you scratching your head and laughing at the same time. Asha Ward is a comedian writer based in New York City. She recently joined SNL as a writer. And Maggie Winters is a Chicago fried comedian turned internet personality, best known under the moniker Saggy Splinters. She trained at both Second City and I.O. Chicago. She's opened for Colin Jost, Hannah Einbender, Matt Rogers, and was named a content creator to watch at the 2022 New York Comedy Festival. Later in the week, I'll tell you about New Faces Unwrapped, New Faces Characters, and New Faces International. The Just for Laughs Montreal Comedy Festival really kicks into gear today. Let's look at the schedule. 7 o'clock Just for the Culture, 7 o'clock Brit-ish, 7 o'clock Tom Papa, 7 o'clock Britannic, 7:15 Drennan Davis, Steph Tolev at 7:30. A show called Surrounded at 7:30. Let's see what that is. Surrounded, an electrifying comedy show where the audience is the material. Today's best comedians take the stage with nothing more than the mic and turn everyday interactions into memorable punchlines. Wow, nice lineup. Lil Rel, Mark Norman, Felipe Esparza, Dan Soder, Annie Lederman. Don't sleep on that one. And the 10 o'clock show has Sam Morrell, Preacher Lawson, Rosebud Baker, and Nate Jackson. Don't sleep on that one. Okay. 7:30 Best of the Fest, 8:30 The Lucas Brothers, 9 o'clock Joelle Nicole Johnson, 9:15 The Laughter Bad Boys and Friends will present a bilingual show. 9:30 Alan Jan Mitra. This is all tonight. The Nasty Show again at 9:30. Daniel Sloss at 9:30. Best of the Fest 9:45. Second Surrounded Show I mentioned earlier at 10. Rosilla Carlson's It's Personal at 10. Gianmarco Cerezi at 10:30. Midnight Surprise at midnight. All right. This is a tough edition of the What Would We Do Tonight game. So I cheated. Normally I would say let's go see British, but I see we can do that later in the week. So let's go see that Surrounded Show with Mark Norman at 7:30. And on the back end, let's go see Gianmarco at 10:30. So we've got a whole around 9 or so that we could see something. Let's do Alangan Mitra. I don't know too much about Mitra, a stand-up comedian and comedy writer living in New York City. Let's do that for something a little different. Some news out of Comic-Con. Rick and Morty for the voices. In case you're worried, one of the producers said, it'll be sound-alikes. The characters are the same characters, no change. So they're going to find somebody who sounds like Justin Roiland to do that. My former coworker, Jamie Foxx, put out an Instagram video, and he said, first of all, I want to say thank you to everybody that's prayed, man, sent me messages. I can't even begin to tell you how far it took me and how it brought me back. I went through something that I thought I'd never, ever go through. I know a lot of people were waiting, wanting to hear updates, but to be honest with you, I just didn't want you to see me like that, man. I want you to see me laughing and having a good time, partying, cracking a joke, doing a movie or a TV show. I didn't want you to see me with tubes running out of me and trying to figure out if I was going to make it through. I know the man a little bit, worked with him. That sounds exactly like him. He looks thin in the video, but hope Jamie's doing okay. Futurama is back. It showed up on Hulu last night. The Hollywood Reporter says the new episodes on Hulu were a fun fan service, but not much more, and that's okay. If ever a show owed its core audience some measure of fan service, it would be a series that was canceled by Fox in 2003, only to be resurrected first in a set of feature-length installments, and then for a regular Comedy Central run that concluded in 2013. The premiere starts with some reboot commentary. Fry announces his decision to give his life purpose, and much to everybody's horror, that purpose is to watch every available episode of TV ever made, starting with a subscription to Hulu, the world's fourth most popular streaming service. Marc Maron was on the picket lines. It was a bit of a show on Friday. Some famous people showed up for the writer's strike. Marc Maron was one of them. Mark said, the momentum is still building. I got some of my comedy buddies were like, let's go. Let's make sure we're there and we show up for our union. There's a lot of people here. And look, eventually they have to negotiate, right? Some of the other comedians that were there, Fred Armisen, Hannah Einbender, Chelsea Peretti, Mark Prosh, who plays the energy vampire in What We Do in the Shadows, and the comedy team of Eric Warheim and Tim Heidecker. Heidecker said, it's going to be a long struggle, a long fight. We're going to have to be out here until we get what we need. They were confident because there's an Arby here, and Eric hasn't eaten Arby's in a year. And I'll leave you on a sad note. Fans of the Bob and Tom Show are mourning after the news that Ron Sexton, known to many as Donnie Baker, Floyd the Trucker, and many other characters on the morning show, has passed away at age 52. Sexton's family announced the death on the official Donnie Baker Facebook page on Saturday morning. The post read, "He was Donnie Baker to you, but Ron and Dad to us." Bob and Tom Show host Tom Griswold put out a statement saying he made many, many people happy during his more than 20 years with the Bob and Tom Show, and we'll remember him with love and gratitude. That's your comedy news for today. Follow the show for free on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your shows. See you tomorrow.
Hi, I'm Mark Francis and host of a new podcast, The Messi Effect. Join us as we take you into the exciting new world of Argentine soccer phenomenon, Lionel Messi. And his new life at Inter Miami will bring you into the glitz, the glamour, the star-studded events, along with the exciting journey to a new world of U.S. soccer and international football with news and stories 3 times a week. Come along for the ride as Messi, Miami, and Major League Soccer experience the journey of a lifetime. Get the Messi Effect wherever you get your podcasts.